Hi, welcome back to Spencer FYI. And today we have got individuals here who represent a couple different groups or ways that you can be a part of a child's life. And so they're pretty important things, but we wanted to talk a little bit about them. So first off, Melissa, why don't you tell us just a little bit about what you do, and then we'll kind of dive into the two different areas.
Sure. Well, so I'm Melissa Loehr, and I am with the Court-Appointed Special Advocacy Program and the Foster Care Review Board Program. And so essentially what that means is that I kind of consider myself a volunteer coordinator. So I recruit and train individuals to become advocates for the court. And so what does that look like? And so basically, we have children in our community that have been abused or neglected, and DHS, the Department of Human Services, gets involved and says we need to offer some services. Sometimes kids are still in the home, and sometimes they're not safe in the home, so they're removed from the home. What we do is then we can get the judge to put an order in for what we call a CASA. And so what the CASA does then is they are going into the home, and they would interview the children and just get to know the kids. They would interview the teachers if the children are school aged, interview therapists or social workers, anyone that's involved in the kids' life. And then they would basically report back to the judge on what they feel is in their best interest. And they are basically just trying to move the kid through the system a little bit faster and provide some oversight and really just be an advocate for those kids. So.
Okay. Now there's another one that involves foster care, is that right?
Mm-hmm. So the second program is our Foster Care Review Board. And so we have a couple different boards. The one that we have located here in Clay County, we review kids. So any child that is in care in Clay County or originates from Clay County, our board, it's a 7-member board. So we gather once, it's about a half day every other month. And ahead of time, our board members they receive a packet of information in the mail. And then they do all of their prep ahead of time. They review all of the court documents, all of whatever the court is going to see our advocates see. So they review all of that ahead of time. And then we have them all we invite them in. So we meet at a local church so that they just feel like it's more comfortable, it's not in the courtroom, anything like that. We invite everybody in, parents, foster parents, the youth, teachers, anyone that's able to come, our CASA advocates if our CASA is on the case. And we would essentially ask questions, find out what's going on, making sure that those kids do not fall through the gaps. So making sure that families are still getting visitations, siblings, if they're not together, get visits. So there's a federal mandate to make sure that certain things happen in foster care. So our board members ask questions and they make sure those things happen. In the end then, that is written up in the type of a report that gets to the judge with our recommendations on what we feel is in the best interest.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the CASA one to start with, and that is for Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program, and we've actually got a volunteer here today as well with that program. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about your role as a volunteer?
I'm a volunteer for CASA. I'm a retired school nurse, although there is no requirement on what your needs were as a former job. You go through a training, which is very extensive, and Melissa is a great support if I ever have questions. And as an advocate, then I visit with the children, visit with the parents. If the children are in foster care, I see the foster parents. I communicate with teachers through email. That's easy for teachers. Department of Human Services. And then a requirement is I write a report once a month and submit that. And then if the family's involved with a court hearing, then I write a court report and submit that.
Okay, so about how much time do you spend on a given
It varies.
month, maybe?
It varies. If there is no court hearing, then not as many hours, maybe 8 hours. I like to think things through when writing my report, so I maybe spend more time on that. But I make the visits. It would depend how many children you need to see and if they're in one foster home or more than one. So it's something that you just kind of tailor it month to month. And with Iowa weathers, I've had to cancel visitations with the kids due to weather. And then we also have some in-service that we are required to complete 12 hours a year. So Melissa coordinates that for us too.
Okay, so how long have you been a volunteer?
for a year, and I've really enjoyed it. I've been a mentor to a child, a lunch buddy at school, and this is something that I very much enjoyed, working with the foster parents, the children, the parents, and just trying to make a child's life better.
Okay, so if someone was thinking about maybe being a volunteer for this program, what would you want to say to them?
Go for it. It's something you can do it with children in school that I meet after school, so a working person could do it because you could do it after your working day. You can do it on the weekends. You can write your report it's from a computer, so you just get a template. So when I took my training, it was an older woman was with me, and another person that had worked with children, but you do not have to have an experience having worked with children before. I'd say just an interest in trying to make a child's life better.
And so, Melissa, why don't you tell us just a little bit about the need and kind of how they're matched up, or how that part of the program works?
Okay. Well, there's a huge need for CASA advocates. There's a lot more kids that are involved in juvenile court than we have CASA advocates. How CASAs are matched up with kids really just depends kind of on the situation. So when I get a referral, I like to find out a little bit of information about the children as much as I can. Sometimes I don't know very much about them at the time of referral, but then I would normally, at the same time that I'm getting to know the CASAs, and so we really get to know each other through training and things like that. We spend a lot of time together through training. So in that time, I'm talking to my CASAs and asking them, what age do you feel comfortable with? Is there boys versus girls that you feel more comfortable with? What situations do you want to steer away from? So we never ask a CASA to take a case that they would feel uncomfortable with. So when I do get that information, like I said, I kind of find out a little bit about them, and then I'll call the advocates that I have that are available, kind of fill them in a little bit, and then they always have the option to say, yes, this is a case I want, or this just isn't a case I want. And so there's no pressure either way. And we just try to do our best, and it's always our CASA's interest first and what they feel is the best for them.
Okay, and are there certain times of the year that you do training, or is it training is set up whenever somebody is interested in becoming a volunteer?
That's a great question. So a little bit of both, actually. So CASA is a national program, and so because it's a national program, we have national standards that we follow. So National CASA says that we have to have, all of our advocates have to have 30 hours of training. And so the really cool thing about the way our training is set up is that it is, whatever your learning style is something that we can target. So it's a combination of one-on-one time, or a small group, independent study, and then kind of a classroom type setting. So there's lots of different ways, and we have modules that we go through, and we have a case study that we also follow. So we're working with a family from a case study from start to finish, and so that really works out nice. And so as far as the training goes, we can start kind of independently. So anytime you come in, we can start that, because a lot of it's done one-on-one with me. And then throughout the course of the year, we have a training that's a little bit longer, kind of the classroom type setting. We have like a training in Sioux City that we would ask an advocate. We have them located in different parts of the state, but ask them to attend that so that they can kind of interact with other CASAs and learn some of the bigger concepts and interact with those individuals. And we do, because that is something that we ask them to do, our program will reimburse mileage and a hotel if that's something that needs to happen. So if anyone is interested, give me a call. I would be happy to talk with you about it. And again, there is such a need. And, I often see, kind of scrolling even through my Facebook feed, all of the stories of kids that are abused and neglected. And, if you read comments, you see, how can I help? How can I help? And it's like, this is such a great way you can help. I mean, it's just, it doesn't take a lot of time. We train you. This is a way to be an advocate for the kids in our community, because they are our kids and we have to take care of them. We're a small, tight-knit community, and we can really do something awesome for the kids. So.
All right, and let's talk a little bit more as well about the Foster Care Review Board, because that's another way adults can have an impact on children's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so the Foster Care Review Board, I do have 3 boards that I coordinate. One in Emmetsburg, which covers Kossuth, Palo Alto, and Emmett counties. Dickinson, that covers Dickinson and Osceola. and then my Clay board that covers Clay and O'Brien. Clay and O'Brien board, it's a really busy board. You know, we meet every other month, and we kind of have a jam-packed schedule. We have a lot of kids to review in a short amount of time. And so we have 7 members on our board, so probably, you know, people that you would know here in the community, all different kind of backgrounds, from you know, stay-at-home mom to you know, retired therapists, retired preschool teachers, you know, healthcare backgrounds. So anything. You don't have to have a special background. That training is a little bit different for Foster Care Review Board. That's an 8-hour training that our advocates do, our board members. And so we can do that right here locally. And it's a really great training. It's a great way to kind of get to know the program. Again, we kind of go through the board day, so what you're going to expect and how we're going to go through a review, and all the paperwork that you're going to see and all the stuff that you're going to read at home. We prep you with that all ahead of time.
Okay, and so what kind of time commitments involved with those volunteers?
So the Foster Care Review Board is it's a little bit different. So you're doing most of the work at home. So you're getting information mailed to you. We're really trying to be a paperless, you know, go green. So we'd like to eventually have that all be electronic, and we're piloting that in other parts of the state. And so it's working pretty well. But right now, what we do is it is mailed to you. And so it really just depends. It depends on how new or how old the case is, and just how fast you read, to be honest, and the things that you want to read. So I would say our advocates probably spend 2 to maybe 3 to 4 hours at home, just kind of prepping and reading and working through that. And then the day of boards, that is probably about a 4 to 5 hour. Just kind of depends on the schedule again, where we're actually having people come in and we're talking to them and interviewing them and asking questions. So it goes really, really fast, and it always kind of makes for kind of an exhausting day, just because it's kind of emotional. But we have a really great team, so that makes it kind of nice.
All right, so if someone's interested in volunteering in either one of these positions or wants more information, how would they get in touch with you?
So they could give me a call. My number is 262-0271, or they could also email me, and my email is Melissa, MELISSA, .Loehr, LOEHR, @dia.iowa.gov. And they can get a hold of me there, or I have a Facebook page, Northwest Iowa Court-Appointed Special Advocates. They can check us out on Facebook too, or online.
All right. Anything else that either of you would like to add that we haven't touched on?
The CASA is a volunteer position. The people I work with are all paid, but I'm a volunteer, so it is a volunteer position. But well worth the hours you put into it.
And I think that's what makes it so much different, is that it's our advocates are passionate, and they have a different perspective, that sometimes if a case is it's going and it doesn't seem like there's results coming, sometimes just to have a different outlook in someone that's like a CASA advocate that can bring whatever their personal life history is, can really just change things, and it's just a different view, so it can be very helpful.
Right. Well, thank you guys for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. We'll be back next.